Today we will discuss a very decent, very informative editorial from The Hindu. So this editorial talks about reforming the education system of India, and it gives actually a lot of. It identifies lots of issues with the that is prevalent in our present day education system and examination system, and then it gives a lot of suggestions loaded with keywords. And if you are going to use those keywords, and if you are like pointing your suggestions, your answers as per these suggestions, it is certainly going to fetch you very good marks in your mains answers. But this article, like other article, is also has some sort of biasness, because the writer is also a former principal of St. Stephen's College. So obviously the writer is not identifying the issues related to the inherent pedagogical system of our colleges, but still the kind of suggestions this article is providing and the issues it is identifying, that is going to be very worth reading it. So let's start. First thing, it is like the core idea of this article is making the education system humane education system. Fair enough. Humane means the education system which thinks about the stresses, challenges faced by the students and their parents, and the education system which is not having a top-down approach. It is humane in terms of the concerns. It is humane in terms of the concerns of the students and the parents, and also it is in sync with the reality. First we will look what are the issues that are being identified. Issues with our present day education system. What are the issues? The first issue that it identifies is that there is a dependency on one examination. This is very much true. In our present context, we have a lot of huge dependency on one examination system. For example, take your prelims. One prelims, if in those 2 hours you cannot perform, your entire year goes wasted. So one poor day can permanently affect the students' opportunities. The underlying criticism with respect to this one-day examination dependency is that human ability cannot be accurately measured through a single test. Just because you are setting one test one day and you are trying to test the ability of the student based on that one test. So this is one of the major issues identified. Second, it talks about dependence on marks and ranks equals to work. The kind of examination system we have is that society increasingly equates examination performance with intelligence and personal value. So if someone has cleared a particular examination, for example, if someone has cleared the UPSC civil services, that person is considered to be very well known, very intelligent, very capable in the society. Doesn't matter what are his ethical activities, to what extent he is moral, or whether he is having some criminal antecedents or not. But this marks and ranks, our society or this education system is it gives more worth to marks and ranks, and it ultimately what it provides anxiety, depression among the student suicides, because if someone is not able to get the expected marks or rank, that student ultimately comes under huge stress. Then it talks about our entire education has become examination oriented. Education means examination. Whatever students are studying, they are actually studying to clear the examination. They are not studying to impart some values. They are not studying to gain some skills. They are just studying for that one day examination. Then a very prominent issue identified is coaching industry. Coaching industry is getting commercialized, highly commercialized, leading to huge costs, huge pressure, And it is being said in this article that coaching is like they exploit students' aspirations, they charge exorbitant fees, they displace formal schooling. These points are true. Coaching has become heavily commercialized, but saying that all the coachings are bad, that might not be a good idea. That's why I said this article a lot, has some sort of biasness as well. It should have been balanced, like okay, whatever there are lots of coachings which are like working under commercial schemes, profit motive tendencies, that can be tackled. Then the next issue that this article identifies is it relates to how there is a emphasis on some professions. So if someone is preparing for IIT, engineering profession, that is very good. That guy, that student is very capable. If someone is preparing for UPSC, someone is preparing for medical, very good. So medicine, engineering, civil services. So these professions have a lot of emphasis in our education system. Next, it talks about lack of awareness. Yes, awareness. There is a lack of awareness among students, among parents. So, like students are often forced to choose choice of courses or choice of career path based on what basis students are actually these days choosing their career paths. They are choosing based on parental expectations, right? Then they are choosing under social prestige and also peer pressure. They are not choosing, the choices of the courses is not based on aptitude, interest, or realistic understanding of the profession, whether that person is actually suited for that profession. That is one of the reasons, even after clearing UPSC civil services, a lots of aspirants after getting selected, they are quitting the profession because they could not handle that pressure. Their expectations was devoid from the reality. Another more prominent, it talks about, yes, that is a centralized examination system. The examination system today is centralized. What does it mean? So the recent protest that happened and paper leak happened, that relates to something called National Testing Agency. So the examination system is centralized, and this article says that India is a very diversified country, highly diversified. You go from north to south, you go from east to west, even within a particular state. For example, you go to Bihar or Uttar Pradesh, they are considered to be a single state, but even in those states there is a lot of diversity when you go from one place to another. And this kind of centralized examination system does not look into the ground realities of our society. What it means that based on regions, languages, or school systems, socio-economic backgrounds, our examination system is not considering these ground realities. They are just a one-size-fits-all model. They are preparing one question paper, one test, and like everyone, irrespective of the family background, socio-economic background, irrespective of the language barrier, they are forced to take that examination. For example, recently I was talking to one of the students from Tamil Nadu. I came to know that in Tamil Nadu also the mains paper of UPSC were actually provided in Hindi and English. They are not providing in English and Tamil, like I am talking about GS papers. So what is happening, that they could not understand Hindi. What happens in North? They are reading questions in Hindi and English. Even if someone is not able to understand the Hindi to English terms, they can look into the translated Hindi version. But that is not happening in terms of southern states. So the problem is this with this centralized examination system that is being identified over here is that based on region, languages, school systems, and socio-economic backgrounds, our examination system is completely devoid of it. Then a very important, significant issue that identifies related to examination system is that it examines a narrow set of abilities. abilities. It is not examining a broad perspective, it is examining narrow set of abilities. What kind of abilities are being tested in our examination system? The first one is memory. How many facts you are able to remember. Go to any PCS state level examination, those examinations are full of facts. They are testing your facts, they are testing what is the actual population data, what is the literacy rate. Even beyond that, they are going into the district wide awareness of the district wise literacy level and all. So it is actually testing your memory. Then also it is testing your speed, whether you are able to solve. Go to the SSC examination, they are actually testing whether you are able to solve 100 questions or not within 2 hours. So this speed, this memory, this examination strategy, what kind of a strategy people are making, these are actually being tested in our present day examination system. But what is the reality? Are those students actually going to apply that 100 questions in 2 hours strategy in the real world, or after they are getting posted as a SSC officials? So obviously this is not the reality, and we are ignoring the aspects. Our examination system ignores the aspects related to creativity, ethics, communication, judgment, practical ability. Very important, practical ability stuffs are ignored. So this is a very important identification of the issue. Lastly, one more I would consider that it identifies is it talks about mental health ecosystem. Mental health ecosystem. Our education system is entirely focused on examination based, examination orientation, examination output. There is nothing, we don't have anything that can ensure the mental health well-being of the students as well as the parents. For example, students are undergoing chronic stress, students are going under emotional isolation, but we don't have anything to deal with that. Recently there was an incident, I guess it happened in Noida, where a student, it's a child, very I guess 5th or 7th class student, she committed suicide after jumping from the school building because the her teacher could not address the bullying complaints that she was reporting. Instead, the teacher just ignored. This teacher could not figure it out that the bullying is actually a reality and that bullying is actually costing her mental health. So these are the basic issues that have been identified in this article. And it is not that this article identifies these issues based on a separate paragraph. That is the beauty of this article. Obviously, he was a former principal of St. Stephen's College, so obviously he is writing a very value-loaded, value-rich article, no doubt about that. So if you are reading this article, you need to be very attentive. You need to pick out the specific points, pick out the specific words, terms, and you need to think over it. But for your comfort, I am presenting it in a well-structured and coherent manner. And now to fix these issues, this article gives some suggestions also, because suggestions are important. Unless and until you are not providing suggestions, the criticism becomes a negative criticism. So what are the suggestions? The first important suggestion that is being provided is that holistic evaluation. Do holistic evaluation. Avoid, replace single dimensional assessment with holistic evaluation. It is one very good thing that actually tells here is written over here is something called a moderated. I just forgot where I have seen that. So it talks about that suppose a student remains in the school for 12 years. Okay. But his future or his career is being decided on some different competitive examination, or forget competitive examination. Take it that the student wants to take admission in college, in graduation. So what is the system of admission in graduation in our country? This system is like that: how much score you are having in your 12th standard, based on that score you will get admission in the what kind of colleges you are getting admission. It will depend on your score in the 12th examination. What it removes? There is a huge disparity among different types of boards, school boards, different like and state boards. Some boards provide very lenient marking, they give a good marks. Other boards are like very strict marking. But if you take the admission based on just one board examination based on like 12th board examination marks, then obviously very competitive students, competitive aspirants may miss the opportunity to study in the well-reputed top-notch colleges of the country. So one very good suggestion that it gives is like moderated school performance. We should have a system wherein how the student has performed in his school studies starting from class 1 to 12th, or even if you are taking from starting from class 7 to 12th, that performance we need to develop some sort of assessment system that the performance of the school is included in the final 12th mark sheet or graduation mark sheet. And this moderated school performance can also become a parameter to decide whether the student is competent enough for some sort of jobs, professional examinations, or even like civil services examination. So this moderated school performance is a very good suggestion, but we will look into it like what kind of challenges, issues this suggestion itself is having. Then it also talks about some aptitude tests, analytical writing. These are like instead of taking one short examination, there should be like a system where analytical abilities are being tested. There should be a proper interview system. In the interview, students are just judged based on their aptitude, competency. There should be proper internships. Internship is actually a very good suggestion over here. A student should be given internship, and that internship marks that can also be assessed whether the student is capable or not. Related to this, the next suggestion pertains to redesign the examination. The examination system needs to be redesigned. How to redesign it? There should be questions should assess application, reasoning, interpretation, and high order thinking instead of predictable factual recall. Instead of just memorizing or mugging up the total population of the country, student need to the examination should test what are the benefits of population, or what are the benefits of demographic dividend, how to tackle that, how to reap the demographic dividend. That kind of higher order thinking need to be assessed. Then it talks about decentralization, decentralized admission, decentralized system in terms of admission or examination. Like we discussed over here, no, in that centralized examination system, we discussed over here that this examination system is delinked, not in sync with the ground realities in terms of region, language, and socio-economic background. So this decentralized system suggests that a cluster of universities or cluster of reputed institutions based on some kind of zones, for example, for North Zone, for Tamil Nadu region, for Andhra region, based on different region, based on different language, based on different socio-economic parameters, zones can be created, and the universities or reputed institutions of those zones can curate a specific examination system for those regions that will ensure that the examination system is in sync with the reality. That is also a fair suggestion, but it has its own challenges. We will look into it. Then it talks about regulation of coaching institutes. Regulation of coaching. That's a very fair suggestion. Coaching institutes, no doubt, should be regulated. Fraudulent practices, hostile conditions, advertisements, fees, these things actually need to be regulated. Related to mental health and like proper guidance, it talks about strengthen the counseling system. It talks about counseling in local languages on courses, careers, cost, scholarships. Counsel in local languages on these things: aptitude, mental health risk, difference between child's interest and parental ambitions. Not only students but also the parents should be counseled on these aspects so that they can decide which course is suitable to the student, how much it will be costing, whether the cost will lead to unnecessary financial pressure. So this counseling is very important, very decent suggestion over here. You can counsel in terms of the strengths of students. There you can, in the counseling sessions, you can identify the interests of the students, and you can like give a picture so that the career choice become realistic. Career choice does not become a matter of prestige, societal pressure. A very important suggestion it gives is industry participation. If you have been following my last couple of videos, then you must have understood this, that participation. You must have understood that I have been talking about reforms in education system, that the traditional courses that we are having, that does not that does not guarantee employability. So there has to be industry participation, industry linked courses, industry based mentorship, internships, workplace visits, skill development, vocational courses, so that what the industry or market requires, that kind of skill can be honed within the aspirants. Very important suggestion related to paper leaks. It talks about strengthening the examination security. Examination security. Strengthen the examination security. Now, if UPSC asks you a question specifically on this, if UPSC asks you a question like give suggestions how to strengthen the examination security, because this NEET paper leak has been, and paper leak of other examinations has been also in news. If UPSC asks you a question on this, then this article provides a lot of very good suggestions. For example, it talks about encrypted digital paper transmission. Okay, it talks about multi-layered question banks, algorithmic randomization, strict vetting and rotation of paper setters, secure printing and seal distribution protocols, independent audit and surveillance of examination centers. If you can write these points, these keywords in suggestions how to strengthen examination security, it is for sure going to fetch you very good marks. So this is a very good suggestion given over here. Then it talks about how to spread examination across calendar. Do not fix it to one particular day, that only one examination every year and that one examination will decide the competency of the aspirant. It should be actually, instead of concentrating the pressure into one national examination, there should be multi-institutional specific assessments throughout the year. It would reduce stress, it would reduce systemic risks. It will also provide multiple opportunities. That multiple opportunities is very important, because if in any case the student misses the one examination, it won't be, he or she won't be under pressure to attend the examination only next year. He can attend the examination after few months also, so that pressure can be reduced. Another last suggestion that it gives is about educational philosophy. Educational philosophy. It recommends that there should not be rank-based filtration, rather there should be capacity-based recognition. Our entire education system, our examination system should focus on recognizing the capacity, and it should not be filtering these aspirants, filtering the candidates based on their rank. Because if we can figure it out, the capacity, whether that candidate is having that capacity, whether that candidate is having that aptitude, that perseverance to survive in that pressure and do that job, clear that, complete that study, then only that student or candidate should be taken into that profession, taken into that job, and taken into that particular course. So these are some of the broad suggestions, issues identified in this article. Now, what is not written in this article, that we will discuss very briefly. So this article is entirely focused on reforming our education system, examination system. But he was a principal of St. Stephen's College, and obviously he is not talking about how to reform the pedagogical system in our universities and colleges. Certainly he is not talking about, because if he talks about that, then it will certainly put a question mark on his stature. Like I keep repeating that our education system is very old. It is like a rotten kind of system. Market guest paper are available in the market, or even if you go in the university examination system, there are limited set of, for example, 5 questions. Each and every question carries 50 marks, and the marks are provided based on how many pages the student has written. Don't you think that this kind of system needs to be fixed? This suggestion is not given in this article. Then when it talks about holistic evaluation and moderated school performance, it talks about interviewing the students at each and every level. This holistic evaluation is a fair suggestion, but the problem is that there will be subjectivity. That will be a gateway of hell lot of corruption, because it will entirely depend on the person who is interviewing. It will entirely depend the person who is deputed to fix whether the student will go ahead or not. For example, take the viva voce or practical examinations that are still being conducted at the school level in some states. What is being required over here? Give 100 rupees and you will get very good practical marks. What happens in practical examinations in school systems? Students just copy paste and they are getting good marks. So there is a lot of subjectivity. There will be a lot of corruption. If we are just focusing on this holistic evaluation, there has to be objectivity. And to ensure that there is objectivity, that's why government is more moving towards one nation, one examination kind of system, so that the local influence can be removed. Socio-economic inequality, this article talks about socio-economic background, but this article ignores the socio-economic inequality. I am talking about inequality. So if there is a focus on internship, if there is focus on Olympiads, if there is focus on research opportunities, if there is focus on expensive extracurricular activities, or if there is focus on polished portfolios or polished research papers, people who are rich and affluent enough, they can easily get it done, but it will not be possible for people belonging to poor backgrounds. Then, as I said, the subjectivity related to this is there will be very difficulty of scaling. A standardization problem will be there. There will be corruption, favoritism, some very important terms, favoritism, nepotism. These will breed a lot if we promote region-based or localized level examination system. And even if it is not breeding up, even if we want to fix that, then we need to have a hell lot of strong institutional capacity. We need to have very strong infrastructure. We need to have good paper setters. We need to have good interviewers at the local level, at the university level, so that they can sift out, they can figure it out, they can take up the competent candidates, and it will be very difficult to conduct all those at local level. Then loss of objectivity we already discussed. What else could be the issues over here? Role of merit in, we talk about now that there is a our examination system should be redesigned. We are focusing on rote memory or how much the student is mugging up the facts. But if we are not some certain competitive fields, for example, medicine, engineering, or even civil services, that requires a strong academic ability. You cannot judge a medical candidate, medical student, just based on merely on ethics. You cannot judge. There has to be proper competency in the medical sciences as well. So, whatever holistic evaluation we are talking about, we need to keep it balanced. If we are keeping it balanced, then only these suggestions will work. Then, regarding coaching industry, regulation of coaching is important, no doubt. But even if you are changing the examination system, changing the education system, the coaching industry will evolve itself. The coaching industry presently focused on giving foundation courses, classes. It will switch to improving taking interview classes, statement writing, aptitude preparation, extracurricular profile building. So this will evolve. So you cannot say that merely regulating the coaching will work. Yes, coaching industry needs to be regulated, but they will also evolve, and our regulation should also evolve. So this making education system humane, a very good article. That's why this session became a lengthy, but it is loaded with information, and you can use that information for your own own well-being, your own improvement of your marks, and your own knowledge. Now we will move to next article. This article is relates to some new scheme that the government is coming up with. This scheme relates to Samudra Manthan offshore exploration. Samudra Manthan offshore exploration is the scheme's name that is being discussed over here. We will look into it in a while. So what it is about, recently cabinet meeting happened, and this cabinet meeting has approved one scheme. What kind of scheme it approved? We will look into it. So this scheme talks about National Offshore Exploration Scheme Samudra Manthan. So the name of the scheme is Samudra Manthan. Samudra Manthan, name of this scheme, by under Ministry of Petroleum. Okay, Ministry of Petroleum came up with this scheme Samudra Manthan. It relates to offshore exploration. What is the meaning of offshore exploration? As the name suggests, it is within the waters. Had it been onshore, that means it is on the coastal side, on the land area. Offshore means like within the water side. So it seeks to boost India's offshore exploration. It is for the period of 2030-31. So starting from 26 for the next 5 years, 26 to 2030. This is the period of implementation of this scheme. It has four components. What are the components of this scheme? The first component is drilling 60 deep water exploration wells. First thing is that deep water exploration wells need to be drilled. Second component is offshore data acquisition. Data need to be acquired based on offshore drilling, offshore reserves, offshore what kind of reserves are there, what is the potential. Different data needs to be acquired. Then you develop offshore infrastructure hubs, a common hub at the offshore level to facilitate commercialization of discoveries. What is the scene today? There is only one oil well, and that one oil well drilled from the ocean offshore region, and it is taken back or refined to some other region and then exported from some other place. This scheme talks about common offshore infrastructure. Hub kind of scenario should be developed. If the well is over here, then develop hubs nearby. One place will be refining, one place will be processing, one place will be looking after the marketing, other place will be looking after selling, other place will be looking after advertising, promoting, other place will be doing some research. Everything should be nearby and everything should be connected. Very decent component of this scheme. Then it says that promote domestic manufacturing and localization of critical equipment and services. This drilling, offshore exploration, these are very costly affairs. These are not easy, and often to explore or to extract the oils from the reserves, we need costly equipments and services from foreign companies. So very good suggestion is that the manufacturing and localization of critical equipment and services, manufacturing and localization should happen. Then it says that it envisages actually to stimulate significant investments across the exploration and production value chain. So this scheme, this Samudra Manthan scheme, is a bit different from other schemes. Other schemes mostly focused on how to generate revenue, how to extract or exploit the resources. But it talks in terms of exploration. It talks in terms of data. It talks in terms of integrated hubs, integrated development. And then it talks in terms of manufacturing. So these are the four components, and that's why this new scheme Samudra Manthan is being considered a very good scheme for hydrocarbon exploration in India. And it will also important, it signifies that government is giving importance to offshore exploration in India. Now another article, the last article, that is also related to one of these schemes. This article pertains to government has come up with one scheme called to promote floating solar plants. To promote floating solar plants, government has come up with this scheme, and this scheme is being called as Pradhan Mantri Surya Sarovar Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Surya Sarovar Yojana. This scheme has a exposure of nearly 5,000 crore scheme. The objective is to build solar plants on reservoirs or water bodies. What is the practice till these days, till now, is that we have been promoting building of solar plants on land, like for example in Gujarat or in Rajasthan regions. But this scheme seeks to promote setting up solar plants on reservoir and water bodies, because it is often said that those areas, the just area above the water bodies, lies unused. So that can be used for setting up solar plants. It is like a scheme of nearly 5,070 crore rupees. Financial assistance, central government will provide financial assistance of up to rupees 1 crore per megawatt of projects. So whatever cost is being accrued to set up a 1 megawatt of floating solar power plant, out of that cost, up to 1 crore will be provided by the central government. The target is to install 5,000 megawatt of floating solar capacity by 2030-31. So 5,000 megawatt. 5,000 megawatt means 5 gigawatt, right? 5 gigawatt of solar capacity by 2030-31 means in the next 5 years. This scheme will be implemented by SECI, Solar Energy Corporation of India. Say key. And it then it talks about some capacity. It says that India has about 0.7 gigawatt of installed floating solar capacity. That means in today, not even 1 gigawatt capacity has been installed on floating on reservoir and water bodies. But we have the potential of more than 100 gigawatt. So the potential is of 100 gigawatt. Current capacity is of 0.7 gigawatt, and this scheme targets to get it to 5 gigawatt. I hope you are getting the clear picture now. Currently, India has only one more thing. The very specific provision of this scheme is that include battery energy storage equivalent. Battery energy storage system should be incorporated whenever we are installing or setting up floating solar plants. Till now, we are mostly focused on setting up solar plants. There is no system of integrated battery storage system. The problem is, if sunlight is not there, power is not getting generated, or in night, power is not getting generated. But if we have integrated battery energy storage system, that means whatever power we are generating solar power, we can store that power, and that power can be used when the sunlight is not available. So this is a very important feature over here. Now it gives one example of Omkareshwar floating solar power. This is India's flagship project in Madhya Pradesh, Khandwa district, and it is the country's largest. Currently it is 278 megawatt, will increase to 600 megawatt. It doesn't have on-site battery energy storage system. So we have a project called Omkareshwar project in Madhya Pradesh. That is the very flagship project of India, and that is considered the only floating solar power project in India. Its capacity is given, but it does not have a battery storage system. This floating solar energy system, this will benefit because of land acquisition issues. If we want to install solar plants on land, we need to acquire the land. When the thing of acquiring land come, the issue is of resettlement, issue is of rehabilitation of the people affected by that project. But if you are focusing on solar plants, if you are using the region on or around the reservoirs or water bodies, this land acquisition problem can be tackled very effectively. So these were the three major articles from today's The Hindu. I hope it was helpful.